Howdy friends, and welcome back to the channel. It's really windy today, so I'm hoping you can hear me, and I'm hoping you can join me, and let's make some dandelion butter. As you can see behind me, the dandelions have popped where I live. I don't need to make any tincture for clinic this year. I actually have lots of dandelion flower tincture. This is not the time you want to be making dandelion leaf tincture. You want to wait until they're nice and bitter. So I like to wait at least a month or two and harvest them well after the plant has gone to seed. But if you want to harness some of the nutritional benefits of dandelion flowers, things like vitamins A, C, K, some trace B vitamins, the minerals, things like potassium, magnesium, iron, calcium, all those good things, you can cook and bake with them. And I thought, I don't really need cookies right now, but I was like, what if I make the dandelion butter and either put it in the fridge or freeze it? So I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do today. I'm also going to take a minute and turn the camera around. And if you do want to make tinctures with your dandelion flowers, I can give you some tips in what to look for, because you want to try to get dandelions earlier in their flowering period. And if you're like me and you have a lawn full of them, it might be hard to figure out what early in flowering period means. So I'll show you a couple of different flowers and give you a hint of what it looks like when they're just starting to open, because for medicine making purposes, that is what we'd like. So I'll turn the camera around, I'll show you that, and then Kiddo and I will get to harvesting. And of course the cat is here too, the whole family's here, almost the whole family. And then you'll need some butter for this. You'll need some dandelion flowers, fresh, ideally, and a food processor. Okay, so I will probably be harvesting from this bed because I want to grow food here. And yes, dandelions are food, but that motherwort, she's got to go. A lot of things have got to go. So I want to show you some differences in the flowers. So this dandelion's been open for a while. And how do I know that? So dandelions actually have two types of petals. They have disc petals and ray petals. And in this one, all the disc petals are open. So if I was being really picky, which you don't have to be, but if I were making tincture, I would actually prefer something more like this, where all of those disc petals, the ones on the inside, a lot of them haven't opened yet. So this plant is just starting. Sorry, something bit me. I had to scratch. Just starting to flower. So if, like I said, if I was being picky about medicine making, I would try to find dandelions that look a little bit more like this one. And Malfoy has come to say hello. Right, Malfoy? Side note, check out my garlic. Magical. We're so happy with using the garden fabric or the plastic this year. Looking good. So this is a great activity that you can get your kids to engage in. You want to make sure that wherever you're harvesting your dandelions from, there's no sprays or chemicals used on them. We also don't have to really worry about a backyard dog peeing on our dandelions, so it's not something we're too concerned about. And you just want to harvest just like Kiddo's doing here, harvesting the flowers, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what we're going to be making?
Dandelion batter?
Butter, not batter. Butter.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said batter.
No
yeah.
mistake.
And then I thought we could use it later on in the season to make shortbread. What do you think? Shortbread cookies?
I like that idea.
Of course, of course. So you're going to want to pick more flowers than you think you'll need. So the ratio is a half cup of butter to a half cup of dandelion petals. And I'm saying petals here because some of the hard work is picking off the green part once you get inside, because that part is bitter. So you're going to want to pick a little more than you think, because you are going to lose a bit of your volume when you remove all the green part. Nice work.
Thank you.
Oh, he's gibungus. He's gibungus. So I get this question a lot. Do I wash my dandelions? And I don't. One, I know exactly how they're grown. So I know there's no chemicals, there's no pesticides, there's no residue anything along that line. Now, the reason I don't wash my dandelions is because by the time they dry, they get really wilted and start to turn brown. I have used a salad spinner. Yes, friends, I have. But when I'm doing something like an oil or a butter, I really don't want to add any extra water content. And then once they're fully dry, they've now been sitting out for a long time. What I do is I let them sit out for about 10 minutes, either on my front porch, and any bugs that do not want to become part of my medicine have the opportunity to kind of like crawl out and walk away. So of course, ultimately you do what makes you feel comfortable. If you really want to wash them, wash them. But for me, especially when it comes to making tincture, I don't want to throw off that water ratio, and I don't want to add any extra water to anything that I'm making, like a butter or an oil. In other unrelated news, friends, it is asparagus season. Yes. That one I let grow way too tall and I've already harvested. But I will be eating asparagus for weeks. So this is the somewhat tedious part where you are going to be pulling out all of the petals, ensuring, see, like this part here, the green that I just pulled out, you do not want in your end product because it's going to be bitter. So you're just going to pull out all these petals and avoid, now you don't need to freak out if a little bit of the green gets in there. It's not a big deal. You don't have to go break out the tweezers and start to pull everything out, but you do want to try to get as much of the petals as possible. So in terms of how much you're going to need, it really depends on your yield of dandelion butter you want to make. So you're basically looking for equal portions of butter and petals. So if you want half a cup of butter, which is 1 stick, then you're going to want half a cup of dandelion petals. So like I said, this part takes a while, but it's absolutely worth it. See, I'm just being really careful, making sure I'm not getting too much of the green in there because it will affect that end product taste. And once I am done this part, I will show you what the next steps are. So this recipe really works better with softened butter. You don't want this like butter that's just out of the fridge. It'll be too hard on your food processor. And I have a cup of loosely packed dandelion petals. I'm just gonna put it in the food processor and pulse it until it's nicely incorporated. Once I do that, I'm then gonna put it using a spatula. I'll spread it out on parchment paper and try to create kind of like a log shape, for lack of a better term, so I can then fold it up and freeze it for future baking. So this is the kind of consistency you're looking for, making sure that the butter and the dandelion petals are nicely incorporated. It takes a lot of like pulsing, stopping, scraping, pulsing again. And then what I'm going to do, like I mentioned earlier, is just scrape all of this out onto a piece of parchment paper and try to form like a shape with it that makes it pretty easy to freeze. And then you roll up either end of the parchment paper, kind of like tie it off like a piece of candy, and pop it in the freezer. So as a side note, freezing it is not necessary. If you plan on using this right away, you can skip that step entirely. And if you know you're going to use it within the next few weeks, you can probably just pop it in the fridge. I just like to freeze it because I don't know when I'm going to make this. Most of the recipes I've found online for dandelion shortbread cookies call for half a cup of butter. So I've made enough butter today to make 2 batches at some point. Well, it looks like I lost my cameraman. My kiddo went next door. He's filming a movie with the neighbor kiddos. And so as soon as they got home from school, off he went. So you're stuck with just me. But this is what I'm talking about. I made my little parchment paper butter packet. I'll label it and put it in the freezer and cut it in about half when I want to make my cookies. Now, I should say that if you have a favorite shortbread recipe that you absolutely tried and true and you love it, you can just substitute this dandelion butter for the butter in that recipe. It works. No problem. Now, if you've got any questions or comments, you know what to do. Leave them below. And until next time, this is Corinne from Spirea Herbs, wishing you health, wellness, and happy baking or cooking.